Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is Friday. It is time for the rebuild. I know everybody missed the beard yesterday.
Oh, I know. I heard chat had some shenanigans going on last night.
Oh, there was. There absolutely was. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the build. It is Friday. And before we jump into everything that we normally do here, gotta talk sponsors. Gotta talk the people that bring everything out for us and make it so that the show can continue doing what we do. Ladies and gentlemen, Distance Nerding and The Build are brought to you by the good folks over at Dubby. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Dubby is a brand of energy drinks created to help focus, concentration, reaction time with no jitters or crash. Dubby contains no maltodextrin, no sugars, no fillers, no artificial colors or dyes. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, why? Why Dubby? There's so many different drinks out there. I mean, I can go to a store and pick up anything. Why Dubby? I'm going to tell you why. Dubby contains Neurofactor. Neurofactor is a neurotropic derived from the coffee fruit. Neurofactor helps give your brain focus and clarity, while the 150 milligrams of caffeine and 3 essential B vitamins help you stay alert and energized. Find out more about Dubby at www.dubby.gg. Use the code NERDING10 and get 10% off your order. I normally drink it. Again, I've had enough caffeine today. Probably shouldn't have more. Unless I want to have a heart attack, then hey, that's a choice.
It's called content.
Called content. Have a heart attack right on the show.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to get so many people in there. Shout out to DeLong Family Cosplay out there. Shout out to Say Wong. Shout out to Sandra Betty out in the chat right now. Shout out to everybody in the chat.
My mic should be better now. For some reason, StreamYard likes to use my camera microphone instead of my microphone that's right here.
You do not sound like crap anymore. It's great.
You said something before the stream.
I was actually going to send you a private chat right now and say that your mic was messed up, and then you fixed it. So we're fine there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, without any delay on this, because I really wanted to just jump right into this one today. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest is a comedian, VO artist, and a multi-talented actor that has characters from franchises that everyone has some kind of love for, whether it's Eugene Felsnick from Grease or Mandark, that's one of my personal favorites, from Dexter's Lab. He's managed to create characters that have a lasting stay in pop culture today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is our honor and privilege to welcome to the show tonight, welcome to the build, the legendary Eddie Deezen.
Hello. Hiya.
Hello.
It is my pleasure to be here. Hello, Matt. Hello, Phil.
How's it going?
Good. How are you this Friday night?
Good, good. I have to say, Phil mentioned his favorites. I have to say this right now. My son is a huge Polar Express fan, so he was super excited.
Well, please give him my love. Tell him I said hi.
Yes, I will. Awesome.
Absolutely. So, jumping right into this, we're going to try and get to learn a little bit about you before we get into kind of your career and everything that you've done here.
Sure.
So we have a couple of questions that we usually ask on the show. We have a segment on the show called Growing Up Geeky. What did you geek out on when you were a kid?
What did I geek? I was a major geek. Well, this is not geeky because they're cool. The Beatles were my biggest. Since the Beatles came in 1964, I go back. I remember seeing them on the Ed Sullivan Show. They were always my biggest thing, and they're still my biggest thing 60 years later. So that's my major geek out. I've read over 1,000 books on the Beatles, seen every bit of footage on them. I'm not to brag, but I'm a Beatles trivia nut. I can stump anybody on Beatles trivia. I can stump the Beatles on Beatles trivia. That's my main thing. But I read Archie comic books. That's pretty geeky. I loved Archie. Cool. I read some cool ones. My two favorite Marvels were I liked Iron Man and I liked the Fantastic Four. Those were my two favorites. That's kind of geeky. Let me see what else. I loved women. I would mentally undress them, but that's not geeky. I was just a guy, And let's see what else. Geeky. I watched. Let's see. I love McHale's Navy. I love Get Smart. I loved the Addams Family, the Munsters. I watched. Oh, my first hero. Again, this isn't geeky because this stuff is cool. But my first hero was George Reeves of Superman, who's my first hero. Every night, my dad would come home from work from the Firestone store, and I would jump into his arms like George Reeves. George would jump. He'd take that hop, and I would hop and jump into Dad's arms, and he would catch me every time. Yeah. When I talked to Tom Hanks when we did Polar Express, and he said something interesting. He said, "Do you remember Superman? The Adventures of Superman? Do you guys?"
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
He said he flew funny. He'd like break his wrists. He did like, Superman, you think would have his hands across like this, but he would break his wrists. He'd like fly funny. So he flew funny. George Reeves had that funny broken wrist thing. I don't know why he did, but he was so cool. He was such a great actor. And here's a geeky side of me. I always liked Clark Kent better than Superman. I thought Clark Kent was really my hero. I liked the double-breasted suit. I thought that was so cool, the fedora hat. And then Clark Kent was a cool guy. I think in the comics, Clark was kind of a nerd, but in the show, Clark was kind of a cool, hip guy. He was like kind of always winking to the audience. He would pretend he was scared, but I think everybody was in on the joke or something. I don't know. I always thought Clark Kent was cool. So maybe that's a geeky side of me.
That's awesome.
No, I mean, I agree. Clark Kent was definitely a cool character. As much as
he was a cool character, yeah. Maybe like I didn't follow Superman comics. Maybe he was made to be a nerd in the comics, but in the show, George Reeves could not help but be cool. George Reeves was like born cool. He was cool in Gone with the Wind. He was cool, and when he did I Love Lucy, he was cool. Everything he did was cool. So I think he was even cool as Clark Kent. He made Clark Kent kind of cool. I never thought Clark Kent was like a nerd,
Mm-hmm. I can see that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And let's face it, even like any other iterations, you talk about George Reeves, but like even the later versions, I think, he was nerdy in maybe the first Superman movie, but even in the 90s, he was still Dean Cain, who wasn't nerdy. He was kind of suave and cool.
Yeah. I love Dean Cain. I wasn't, God rest his soul, and I respect him, but I wasn't crazy about Christopher Reeve, but I did like Dean Cain. I used to watch that show. And you're right, he was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But George Reeves will always be the Superman, the same way as Johnny Weissmuller will be the Tarzan, Bela Lugosi will be the Dracula, Sean Connery is the 007. These are just they're the Nay Ultra Plus, whatever. They're the Mount Everest, the Michael Jordans.
Absolutely, I would agree with you on a lot of that.
Yeah. Adam West will always be Batman for me.
Exactly.
Adam West was my original Batman. I talked about it the first time we did the segment when I talked about our growing up geeky, when we went over the hosts growing up geeky, and I talk about Adam West was what got me into superheroes. Adam West Batman.
Yeah, he was so cool, and I met him in real life, and it was like a joke. When we were kids, I watched Batman. I was like maybe 8 or 9, and we took him real seriously. Oh my God, Batman and Robin are in this. They're spinning around on the wheel, or the saw's going to cut him in half. It was really serious. But Adam West was kind of like George Reeves in that he was in on the joke. And then when I met him in real life, I met Adam like 4 times at various signing shows. And he was the funniest guy. He had a very droll, witty sense of humor. He had a wry, funny sense of humor. And he would break me up. And he was a great laugher. Everything I would say would break him up. So he had a great sense of humor himself. And he had a great sense of humor in that he would laugh at others. And I saw how he played Batman. He played it kind of tongue in cheek, oh, poor deluded girl. He'd say these funny lines. As a kid, we took it seriously. But you look back on it 60 years later and you go, this guy was in on the joke. It was a funny joke.
Oh yeah, I absolutely loved watching the reruns of Adam West Batman growing up. And it's my buddies I've known for many years. One of his favorite shows too, that we just rewatch him every once in a while too.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, you don't know how big Batman that first year. I don't know, how old are you guys?
I'm 40.
Yeah, I'm 37. I mean,
you're way young. Okay, you guys are so much younger than me, but I'm 67 now. So I lived through Batman. Batman that first year, you guys, Matt and Phil, it was like the Beatles. It was the biggest TV show. You could not imagine a show that big that everybody. And then it petered out. It was like this comet that went in the sky, and it couldn't it couldn't carry that momentum, and it just went down. It lasted about a year. But for that year, it was the hottest show I ever remember. Like everybody was talking about it. We all watched it. Every kid in the United States, every kid everywhere watched it, and we took it very seriously. And here's another thing: the superhero guys, the villains, the super villains, they always had hot assistants. They always had hot girls. Like the Riddler always had an assistant, in a mini skirt. Penguin had a hot girl in a mini skirt, and that was fun too watching it. Which is the main reason I never liked Star Wars. I never liked Star Wars, but Nichelle Nichols as Uhura, she taught me how beautiful African-American women can be. I really learned. She was the first hot African-American woman. I go, my God, she's gorgeous, has beautiful legs. And it taught me kind of a race question that African-American women are just as beautiful as white women in their own way. She was a knockout. Star Trek I never got into. I seen one episode. I saw the Joan Collins episode. And Trekkies have told me, they go, you saw maybe the best episode. That was great, because it was a great episode, but I never have seen another episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, for me, when the movies came out that J.J. Abrams was doing, past decade or so, I'm one of those people that has to like watch everything from start to finish. So I'm like, oh, if I'm gonna watch Star Trek, I start at the beginning and watch the original.
Right. Are you a Trekkie? Do you like it?
I prefer Star Wars more, but I appreciate Star Trek.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's same.
Harrison
I'm more.
Ford, I mean, I would die to meet him.
Yeah.
I've met Mark Hamill a couple times. Super nice guy. We did a couple of voiceovers together. He's the nicest guy ever. But Harrison Ford, I mean, we don't have, again, we're in this era. There's not many real movie star, quote, movie star, Clark Gable. We think of Clark Gable, Jimmy Stewart, Jimmy Cagney, Bogart. Harrison Ford is in that class. He's one of the last of the real movie stars, So meeting him, I would probably faint, I love so many of his films. I love Witness. And so many of his films are wonderful. Indiana Jones, I love all those.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's refreshing to hear someone like you, who's been a veteran of the acting community for a couple of decades now, just to also be starstruck like we are.
Oh, absolutely, unequivocally. Some of my proudest things. I touched Paul McCartney. I saw Paul McCartney on the Tonight Show, and he came. I was doing Punky Brewster the show at the time, and George Gaines, who started in it, goes, Eddie, I have tickets to see Paul McCartney on the Tonight Show, 2 tickets. When you're like, I'm like jumping through my skin. You think? So it was that was the best thing I ever got out of doing Punky Brewster, was I got to see Paul McCartney. He was on the Tonight Show, and we all watched him. And then after the show, we all ran out like a hard day's night. Like 100 of us ran out. This mob, little sports car comes out. It's obviously a rented car. Paul McCartney's driving. And he stopped the car. He was probably so used to it, and he rolled down the window, and I touched his shoulder. I was nearby, and I touched Paul's shoulder. Then we were all there, and, Paul had to get out. I think Linda was in the car with too. I might be wrong with that, but I think Linda was with him. Maybe I'm dubbing that in, but Paul was there. But anyway, he drove out slowly, and I felt this crushing feeling on my leg, like my foot, like an elephant stepped on it. Like it crushed my foot. And I realized Paul McCartney just friggin' drove over my foot. No human foot was happening. It felt like this crushing weight, like weighed 2,000 pounds. And it was McCartney's car. He drove off the very end of my foot. It didn't break my foot or anything, but he kind of grazed over it. And Paul McCartney drove over my foot. So that's my Paul McCartney experience. Yeah.
You should have just got a fake cast like, Paul, look what you did.
Exactly. I could have sued him, but I love him so much. I would never do that, Paul. Also, my other cool Paul McCartney story. They asked a friend of mine, his name was Joe Pope. Now, sadly, he died. He passed away of AIDS. I've had a lot of friends die of AIDS over the years. He died of AIDS. He was a great guy. He wrote this Beatles magazine called Strawberry Fields Forever. And he got to interview Paul. And he said to Paul, have you ever seen this movie called I Want to Hold Your Hand about the Beatles? And Paul goes, and the answer come back. He did an imitation of me because I do that in the movie. I go, and the answer come back. And Paul did it. Paul goes, and the answer come back. He did an imitation of me. Friggin' Paul McCartney did me. So that was one of my great moments too.
That's awesome, man. Like just to have somebody that you look up to like that doing it.
Oh God, yes. I mean, who else has lived life? I always say about Paul McCartney, I go, and you have to really think about this and assimilate it, but I think it's true. This man, this human being, has probably brought more joy to more people than any human being in history. I mean, more than maybe Jesus maybe did, or Buddha, but as far as an entertainer, you figure this guy's been doing it for 60 odd years. Right. The whole world loves him, and he continuously does concerts. I think he's brought more joy and happiness to the world. Like the reverse corollary is, of course, the reverse corollary is Hitler, of course, brought more misery and sadness to the world than anybody else. He would be the antithesis. He brought more happiness and joy. So his karma is so good, Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is amazing, man.
So
it's one of those things, because like they say never meet your heroes because your heroes are going to disappoint you, right? But I mean, like,
I've heard that.
Yeah, it almost like I've met 2 of 3 people that are like my bucket list interviews.
Right.
One of them I've actually interviewed. So like Rob Paulson's been on the show, and I know you.
I love Rob Paulson, nicest guy ever. I love him. Okay,
right. I know
he was cool. So he was a hero of yours.
He was a hero of mine. Like
so he delivered the goods. Good. Okay. Who else?
Rob Paulson. Kevin Smith is another big one for me.
Okay. Now, was he cool or mean or what?
No, he was awesome. He was amazing.
Totally cool. He seems like a nice guy. I've never met Kevin, but he seems like a very nice guy.
If you know Kevin, this is not a bad thing. I made him cry.
How'd you do that?
But it's not like Kevin doesn't cry in the sense of like, I was mean to him and he cried because of it. It was more what I had said to him touched him. And
no, that's a beautiful kind of cry. Can you tell me what it was, or is it too personal?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I was just telling him about between him and Rob Paulson, they're kind of the reasons I got into into podcasting, but also into being a creative and wanting to do creative endeavors and things like that. And just telling him how much of an inspiration he is to me. He's somebody who kind of forges his own path and does what he wants, regardless of what anyone tells him, whether he can or can't. He's going to do it, and whether it lands or not, it does or it doesn't. And I've always respected that. I feel like
So
that is
cool.
a beautiful thing. And
So you had the two beautiful, and they were your two biggest idols ever.
Those two guys, and my last one is someone you just mentioned, and that is Mark Hamill.
Oh, okay. Now he's a sweet guy. He's a great guy. I think this story has to be good, right?
I haven't met Mark Hamill yet. He's the
Oh, okay. No, you will meet him. Hopefully, God be with you. I hope you will meet him. I'm sure you will. And he is the nicest guy ever. You'll love him. He's just the most lovable. Totally, and by the way, totally unpretentious. You know, it works both ways because you've met some big stars. Some of them are totally unpretentious. They just like talking to us. You know, how are you? You see that cute girl? Did you see this on TV? And you know how the Dodgers do in the game last. They're just totally cool. And then some are, you know, this lofty, pretentious guy. Oh, look at me, you know, and you can just feel they have this pretension around them. And those are the dicks you don't want to meet. You know, you meet them and you're disappointed. But there's both. I found mostly it's a rule of thumb. It doesn't work every time. But the rule of thumb I found the biggest stars are the nicest people, almost right down the line. But I've been disappointed. I'll tell you my other story. But tell me, okay, you're Phil is. I know you're Phil and Matt, the baseball cap. Are you Phil?
I'm Matt.
Matt. Okay, Matt. Let me hear yours. Did you ever meet any of your heroes?
I've met my hero Bruce Campbell twice.
Okay.
He's a sarcastic jerk, but I love him for it. So,
so he was a dick, but he was nice. That's like an oxymoron.
Yeah. It's just like because you know he is known for doing horror movies, especially Evil Dead and stuff like that, and that's all the fans expect from him. So he's spent 40 years talking about the same movies. He's kind of sick of it, you know. But you know, he's just like, you know, good and funny. He's very sarcastic, but quick-witted and stuff like that. So he's just very playful with the audience and the crowd when he talks to you. So
very cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else, or is that your main one? That's your big one?
Oh, easily my biggest one that I ever wanted to meet. I did meet Tom Savini a couple months ago. So
okay, now I'm not familiar with him. Who is he?
A special effects artist that worked on George Romero's Night of the Living Dead movies. And stuff
I see.
Like that.
Okay. And was he a nice guy?
Oh, absolutely. He just he was at Days of the Dead. He just kind of walked around because I had a vendor table. He just walked around and just talked to everybody, and that was just great. Just walking around, you know,
very cool.
The crowd gets there.
Okay. Well, you know whose birthday it is today? Okay, John Belushi. Belushi's birthday. I got to work with him in 1941. Nicest guy ever. Totally. You read all these things about he was this wild drug crazed guy, and he might have been. Like Spielberg said, Stevie was telling me, my manager, he said, Spielberg said, you could write a book about just John and I, the experience I had with him, which he didn't sound too happy. So there was probably a side of him I didn't see. I didn't see the drug-addled side, you know, him popping pills and getting drunk. I saw he was totally professional when we did 1941. I met him at the party. He was at the premiere for I Want to Hold Your Hand, and we were at the Plaza Hotel, and I got to sit with him for like 15 minutes, and we just talked. He wasn't on, you know how some comedians are on, and then a funny thing happened to me, you know, they're always on. And he was just a totally cool guy. He wasn't on at all. Totally serious, not going for laughs, introspective, thoughtful, very intelligent. That's what I saw. I talked to him for 15 minutes, and you're waiting, you know, for a joke. This is John Belushi, the funniest guy in the world, and I kept waiting for him to say something funny, and he never said anything funny. It was just very serious, not almost solemn, not quite, but just a really somber, serious guy. That's what I saw. Now, maybe he was high then. Maybe that's why he acted that way, but I just saw him very serious. Now, the last time I saw John Belushi, okay, I had a terrible audition. It was one of those just disasters. One of these, everything went wrong. So I was really distraught, and I felt like crying almost. It was so bad. So I walk out. Who's coming up down the street? John Belushi. We're just in Hollywood. I forget where it was, but John Belushi happens to walk by. He sees me. He goes, Eddie, what's the matter? I go, I just had this terrible audition. These guys hated me. And he goes, they're assholes. And he walked off. That was the last time I saw John Belushi. He didn't say anything. He just goes, they're assholes. And he walked away. He didn't say anything. He just walked away. And then, God love him, he was gone like a year later.
Yeah. That's a shame. But
yeah, I loved him so. He was my all-time favorite. You know, of all the wonderful geniuses who've been on Saturday Night Live, he's my all-time favorite. You know, not ready for primetime play. I thought he was the best one.
love that, man. And he's a Second City guy, right?
He was, I think he was, yeah. Was that
Yeah.
with Chevy Chase? I know he was with Chevy Chase, so I guess with Second City, yeah.
Yeah. Good old Chicago.
Right. And Bill Murray, Bill Murray, who's great. Him, I'd love to meet. I hear only good things about him, and I'd love to meet Bill Murray.
Yeah. But kind of going into diving a little bit more of your background, you're a child of student comedy as a child. Who are your inspirations to get into comedy?
Okay, well, I'll give you one last story to answer. This answers your question, and it goes back to the previous question. I'll just give you one last one because I know we've done enough on meteor idols. But my supreme idol would be Curly Howard of the Three Stooges. He died before I was born, so I never got to meet Curly. But he's given me more laughs than any comedian. You go, which person has made you laugh most in your lifetime? He would be my answer. But my huge idol was Jerry Lewis. And I'd seen Jerry in concert. I saw him in Las Vegas. I'd seen him, a few various times doing shows. I saw him in Damn Yankees. So anyway, he's signing this DVD. He did a thing called The Jazz Singer, the Al Jolson one, but he did a white version of it. I guess he didn't do blackface, I don't think. It was 1959. I'm hoping he didn't do blackface that late in our evolution, but he did the Jazz Singer. He was signing DVDs of it, So I went to see him. I bought 5 DVDs. Oh my God, I'm going to see Jerry Lewis. I'm rehearsing like, a guy on his first date with a pretty girl. Okay, I'm going to say, well, you look beautiful. And I'm going to give her the flowers. And I'm going, okay, Mr. Lewis, you're my hero. I love you. I loved your movies with Dean Martin. And I'm rehearsing what I'm going to say. It was the biggest. This was like, I'm going to swoon. This is like meeting Elvis. Jerry Lewis is God to me. So I'm in line, He sees me coming. I saw him, he saw me, and he did a double take. That was the first indicator. He saw me, and I saw him, and he did like a classic double take out of the movie. He knew who I was. Now, Jerry Lewis and me, that's kind of, it's like comparing the Beatles to some third-rate grunge band. It's like, I'm so far below this guy. I've made a few good films. I had a fairly good career, but this is Jerry friggin' Lewis, It's like, you don't get any bigger. He's like, he's with Bob Hope, the Marx Brothers. He's as big as you get. But he obviously didn't have good feelings for me for whatever reason. So I get in line. It's my turn. I give him this DVDs. Mr. Lewis, you're my favorite comedian. I love you so much. I loved your movies with Dean Martin. And I rambled on. Crickets. Nothing. He just looked at me. Crickets. It was cringe, the most cringe-worthy time. I did this like 4 or 5 times, and there was just crickets dead silent. Mr. Lewis, my favorite movie is with Dean Martin. I love Living It Up, and I love the one you did. I love The Stooge. I love it. And a Solo, I like the one you did. I like the Caddy or whatever. I like that. On again. Mr. Lewis, I'm a comedian because of you. You influenced me so much. Like you said that to Rob Paulson. He liked it. Again, crickets. Nothing. And then finally, he had a little mercy, and he said the big words to me. He goes, "Thank you." He said it like Grandma gives Billy this horrible sweater for Christmas, and the parents go, "Billy, thank your grandmother for this sweater." He goes, "Thank you, Grandma." And it was like that. He was like going, "Thank you." So patronizing, so cold, and so emotionless. But he goes, "Thank you," and that was it. So he signs my DVDs. He gives them back to me. I felt like I go down to the car. My manager's waiting for me. He goes, "You look like you just seen a ghost." I go, "I just met Santa Claus," and he kicked me in the balls. That's what I said, because meeting Jerry Lewis is like meeting Santa Claus. And I was so distraught. I felt like crying. I might have cried when I got home. But I said, "Do you want these DVDs?" And he bought them off. They were like $15 a piece. He bought them off me. I didn't want to keep them anymore. And that was the only time I met Jerry Lewis. And he was a hero who so let me down when I met him. Yeah.
Yeah. That's gotta be crushing, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's sad to hear that. Especially someone like you would expect Jerry Lewis, and I'm sure he's heard that from he had heard that from a lot of people.
Of course. Now you make an excellent point. That's a great point, and let me take that up. You make a great point, Phil. Okay, Marilyn Monroe, how many times, probably every day of her life, every hour, she was told, "You're the most beautiful one I've ever seen." Or Muhammad Ali, "You're the greatest boxer of all time." Or Babe Ruth, "You're the great." Now, the trick is, if you're really cool, you take it in a new unit of time. That's all. You don't go, da-da-da, I've heard that, blah, blah, blah. You go, this is a new unit of time. Because when you're really cool, when you're really there, it's called present time. You're not stuck in the past. You're not worrying about the future. Your happiest moments are when you're 100% in present time. Like, I'm enjoying talking to these two cool guys now, Matt and Phil. They're nice guys. I'm right here talking present time. So you take that and you take the present time. Because I get told that, not as much as Jerry Lewis, but they go, "You're really funny. I love your movies. You make me laugh." They go, "You were a part of my childhood." I hear, when I do signing shows, every person tells you pretty much the same thing, So, you go, "This is a new person. This is Bill." You realize this is important to this guy, and you realize how I felt when I met Jerry Lewis. It's reverse. This is like him meeting somebody. And like Stevie says, you go to these cities in Oklahoma and all, they've never met anybody in the movies, it's like a big deal to them. So you make it important to them. You realize this is important. These are sweet, nice people. You don't hardly ever meet assholes. They're almost always really nice people. And you take it a new unit at a time. You just go, thank you. I really appreciate that. That's all.
No. And you're 100% right, because this is literally what Rob Paulson said on the show when he came on the show.
He probably gets it all the time. Your characters are so wonderful. You're brilliant, because he's a great artist. I mean, he's one of the voiceover artists. He's really up there. He's with what's that guy's name? Who's the greatest guy in Frank Welker? Frank Welker. Yeah, he's like that. It's like those are the Babe Ruths of voiceovers. They're like the Mel Blanc would be the greatest of all time, but they're like the Mel Blancs we have today. And they hear it all the time. And Frank is the sweetest, nicest guy in the world. He's a great guy. I love Frank Welker. You'll never find a nicer guy.
Welker's so awesome, man. Rob was telling a story about how, exactly the story you just told. What put things in perspective for him, so that way now that when he meets anybody, he treats it as a brand new experience, because it is a new experience for every single person.
He said, okay, that's okay. Yeah, right. It's a new experience. Exactly. You take it as a new experience. There is something different, Yeah.
Right. He was saying the reason that that perspective got put on him is because he met Julie Andrews, and Julie Andrews was his inspiration, was his that was his Jerry Lewis, right?
That's very interesting. In that usually it's the same sex, Usually guys are inspired by guys, and women are inspired by other women. It's very interesting that a guy was inspired by a woman. But that's what was it, from The Sound of Music or what?
Just in general, because he came up doing musical theater. So
okay,
his was Julie Andrews is the best there ever was, best there is.
Yes.
When he met her on the Warner Brothers lot. So he was he was just walking and just happened to pass her, and he kind of gets starstruck for a second and is like, "Oh my God, that's Julie Andrews. Oh, that's Julie Andrews, right?" And he's like,
"Right.
I have to say something. I have to say something."
She's a superstar, superstar. She would be one of the last of the movie stars. She's as big as you can get.
Right.
I mean, remember, you guys don't remember this. You're too young, but when she had, Mary Poppins Sound of Music, that was the biggest back-to-back hits ever. I mean, the only thing close is John Travolta. He had Saturday Night Fever in Greece, to have two movies that, were just huge all over the world. Who has two movies like that in a row, back to back, Right. Julie Andrews is the only one I remember that being that big.
Yeah, and that's 100%. You're correct. And Rob says that he stops her and says, "Miss Andrews, I just have to tell you, you are an inspiration. You are, you're what inspired me to pursue my dreams and get into being a singer. And now I'm an actor, and I just wanted to thank you." And she takes his hand, puts her hand over his, and says, "Thank you for taking the time out of your day to say that to me."
Oh, what a beautiful story. That's a beautiful story. What a great story. I would love to meet her.
And he said that changed his perspective on the way that you look at things, because he's like, we as actors, we're here. And the only reason that we sustain and we continue is because of the fans, and because of the people.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. You're so right.
Right. So he was saying that her saying, "Thank you for taking the time out of your day," that's saying that I'm not taking any time out of my day. You took the time out of your day to tell me that you stopped. Is
that cool? That's called class. That's about as cool as you can get. What a great, beautiful story.
Right. And Rob says now that's the way he looks at everything, is that thank you for taking the time out of your day to tell me any appreciation you have. He goes, because I'm nothing without the people who are coming to see me.
It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I do independent horror movies and, really small stuff, but I've always made a determination by doing the shows that I do and talking to people like yourself that if I got to be a household name, I treat everyone that way too. There's no reason to not. do that. You know, being
Exactly. There's
kind
no
is
reason to not do
so
that.
easy.
Now, occasionally, very, very occasionally, I'd say it's literally like 1% because there's assholes everywhere. For some reason, there was a Far Side comic and it shows God making the human race and all. And he doesn't say assholes, but he goes, I'll put a few jerks in here. But you should say assholes. And God, for some reason, there's a few assholes sprinkled around everywhere. They're asshole baseball players and asshole voiceovers and asshole actors for some reason. But at the signing shows or when you meet them, they're almost all nice. But occasionally, you'll meet a jerk, so, I'll show this guy how cool I am, or I'll show him how to, or I'll impress my girlfriend. I'll insult this guy, there's always a dick like that, and you deal with that, but they're in such a small minority. Yeah, but they exist.
Yeah.
Luckily, we haven't had any bad experiences with anybody. So, I mean, we've
Cool.
everybody.
Well, you're very lucky. You're very blessed. I've had a few over the years. You had them in your life, obviously. You mean since you've been doing your show?
I mean, like just when meeting anybody, any celebrities or anything like.
Yeah. Mostly, almost all they've been nice. Yeah, very, very few. Stand out. Mickey Rooney was. I didn't meet him. We're sitting in a voiceover room one day. Okay, just sitting there. Me and my past. Who comes out? Surreal. Dick Van Dyke and Mickey Rooney come walking out. These two fucking, the movie star legend and the TV legend. Dick Van Dyke and Mickey Rooney come out now. They were both there, and this is the dichotomy. This is the yin and yang. Dick Van Dyke, sweetest guy. We all crowd around Dick Van Dyke. Warm, shook, hi, Mr. Maggie, shook our hands, totally nice, big smile, the sweetest guy he ever met. Then little curmudgeon Mickey Rooney, they go, I'm gonna go see Mickey Rooney too. And I knew it. I wouldn't advise that. There's something about this guy, I don't know, but they all went over and literally, he goes, this is his word. He goes, get away from me, you kids. Literally, like Mr. Potter, and it's a wonderful. He's that sour curmudgeon. I mean, guy. Now, to be fair, I met Mickey 4 times. I did 4 shows with him. 2 times he was nice. 2 times he was a mean curmudgeon. But 2 times he was very sweet. Once I was talking to him and all, and I saw the twinkle in his eyes. And I go, "This is the Mickey Rooney we love." In the Judy Garland movies, A Mad, Mad World. This guy had the greatest. He's done 100, 200 movies. And I saw the twinkle in his eyes, and I saw the real Mickey. Now, to explain that. Part of it might be, you wonder why these guys are such jerks. Why was Jerry Lewis such a dick? He had the world of speed. He had everything. He's rich. He had all these women. Everybody loved him. Part of it could be, there's 2 theories. One is meds. They're on these bad meds. Because I had a bad experience in 2020. I had my open heart surgery. I was put on a regimen of, I was totally drug free. I'm very anti-drugs. I'm a libertarian. You want to take drugs, it's your body, fine. But I don't like them in my body. But they put me on a regimen of 20 meds. And I got in a lot of trouble. I threw plates at cops and all. And I got arrested. I was put in jail for a month. And I was put in a mental hospital for 8 months. This was in 2022. In fact, this is my anniversary, which is, I put it on the 23rd. I posted on my Facebook page about it. I've been free for 2 years. But, I called girls pigs. I called a couple waitresses pigs because they just mess up your mind, that might be part of it, why they act so mean. It could be. Now, the other could be pain. If people are physically in pain, they're not at their best, And Jerry Lewis, I know, had a really bad back injury, which is what Jeff Conaway had in Greece. He had a bad back injury. He was taking a lot of meds. So I think, the pills might have had an effect on him. You never know. You don't know what's going inside. Everybody lives in their own universe, so you don't know. But that might explain it.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Awesome. But you mentioned Greece. I want to talk about that.
Yes.
You kind of your breakout role in Greece. So what was that like for you? How did you even get into that spot, and what was it like for you?
Well, it was indeed my breakout role, and this the story that got me into it. I don't know if you guys tell me. First of all, are you guys religious or are you secular?
Pretty secular.
Yeah.
Both of you are secular. Okay, then you'll take it as just lucky. Now I'm going to tell you the story of me getting Greece. This is how I got my role in Greece. It was my first film. First of all, most people's first film was a turkey. Everybody, Tom Hanks, John Travolta, everybody's first, but I got in Greece. It's like the biggest, most loved musical of all time. I lucked that I got my first movie. But this is a story. I went in to read for Grease. There was 3 guys there. There was the director, Randall Kleiser, the casting director, Joel Thurman, and the producer, Alan Carr. I go to Paramount Studios. I went in, and Eugene, I have like 4 lines. I go, "Hi, I'm Eugene." "Oh, thank you." And then I get the pie in the face. So I read my lines. Now, while I was reading, I could see they were nudging each other. They were like nudging. So I thought that's a good sign. They're nudging each other. That's a good indicator. I read a couple times. They thanked me. I went out later. A day or 2 later, they called me. "We want Eddie to be in Greece." So of course I called. I called my parents. I called all my friends. "I'm going to be in this movie, John Travolta." I finally, I came to Hollywood to get in the movies. I'm 20 years old. I'm going to this movie, and at the time, John Travolta was a huge star. He was the biggest star in Hollywood. "I'm going to be in this movie, John Travolta. It's called Grease. Olivia Newton-John's in it." I told everybody that. A couple days later, Paramount called my agents. They go, Eugene is a very small role. We're not going to have Eddie in the film. We're going to write him out. So I go, so, my agent called me and told me, she goes, you're out of Greece. You're not going to do it. So, of course, I felt like jumping off a cliff. I not only is my whole dream shot, but I've told everybody too. Everybody's expected. So I've got to tell them all. So my agent goes, we're going to go to church and pray. I swear to God, it's a true story. She goes, we're going to go to church and pray. I go, I'm Jewish, She goes, oh, that's fine. So we went to this church. It's still in Hollywood. It's called our Mother of Good Counsel Church. It's on Hollywood in Vermont. It's near the House of Pies. It's like right across the street from the House of Pies in Hollywood.
Okay.
Now, she drove us and she goes, we're going to light candles and pray at the altar. I've never done anything like this in my life. So she gives me match. I get at my altar. I light 2 candles. I fervently, dear God, please let something good happen. Please, dear God, let something good happen. I prayed fervently. A couple days later, Paramount called me back. They said, we're putting Eddie back in the movie. He's back in Greece. Now, if you're a religious person, you go, that's divine intervention. How could it not be divine intervention? But if you're secular, you just go, you got a lucky break. You totally lucked out. You got a lucky ass break. That's all it is. So you can look at it. There's obviously a reason it happened. It was just a caprice. I don't know. Or was it divine intervention? I don't know. I've come back to pray, and I've always been kind of an agnostic. I believe fervently. Then I went through years as an agnostic. I'm at the stage now where I do say my prayers every night. First of all, I figure, what can it hurt? It can't hurt anything. And I figure there's something bigger out there that helps us. Because I've had such a blessed life. And I thank God. I go, thank you for, my wonderful friends, all my movies. And I've had such a wonderful, happy life, and I thank God for it. So maybe I'm just talking to air, who knows? None of us, really, none of us knows 100%,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's for sure. But I mean, that kind of, like I said, Grease really kicked it off for you, and you really,
yes,
you became, I would say, the nerd, right? The nerd.
I became, that was like, that kind of started. Now, the first was probably American Graffiti, Charles Martin Smith. I wrote an article, The Evolution of the Nerd. The first was probably in movies was Harold Lloyd. Harold Lloyd's probably the first nerd. He had glasses. He didn't go with them. He was probably the first nerd. That was silent movies. Then you go up to the 70s. It was Charles Martin Smith and American Graffiti. He kills it, in that movie. He's a funny nerd. He killed it. And then he kind of died off. And then I kind of made the funny spastic nerd. And then their imitators started coming out. Then these nerds started coming out everywhere. And they had Revenge of the Nerds, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I met Robert Carradine. Of course, Steve and I did a show a couple months ago. And I met Robert Carradine for the first time. I go, you know how many people have told me I'm the guy from Revenge of the Nerds? Probably had me 100 times over the years. I go, the people think you're Eddie Deezen. He goes, all the time. They think I'm Eddie Deezen. They think I'm the guy in Revenge of the Nerds, I'll tell you another story.
The role was made for you, though.
Yeah, I guess. Well, here's the story. People always say, were you going to have Revenge of the Nerds? I go, no, that's a clear answer. And then the question always comes up. They go, why weren't you in Revenge of the Nerds? Now, I did a movie called The Whoopee Boys with Paul Rodriguez and Mike O'Keefe. It's a funny movie, but a bomb. But it's a hilarious movie. But I did that, and our producer was Adam Field, who produced Revenge of the Nerds. And I asked him point blank, I go, Adam, why was I not in Revenge of the Nerds? This is what he told me. He might have been trying to placate me, but he goes, we wanted to get regular guys and dress them up to be nerds. He said, we wanted to put glasses on them and grease their hair and make them be nerds. That was the joke. He goes, you're already a nerd. He goes, you're already that way. It wouldn't have been as funny if we did it with you. That's what he told me. If you believe that, but that's what he told me. So
you're already
later.
You don't need to.
Pee Wee Herman. If you look at, and by the way, he was a dear friend of mine. I loved him. He was the sweetest guy in the world. I did his first movie. He did the movie called Midnight Madness. That was Pee Wee's first film, and it was also Michael J. Fox's first film. But I met him on the set. I loved him instantly. We became instant friends. This before he was Pee Wee. I always called him Paul. Yeah. Then later I saw him at Cantor's Deli. We ran into him at Cantor's Deli. He's real sad. Pee Wee, good to see you, Paul. Or sorry, Paul, or I called him Pee Wee. I don't know if he was Pee Wee by this time, but I go, what's going on? He goes, I have this script I'm taking around town and nobody wants it. I'm getting turned down by everybody. That was Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And we, pat him on the back, go keep up, keep trying. And then he got Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Now, if you look at his outfit, it's almost the exact same outfit I wear in Greece. I always think he got his outfit from me in Greece. It's the same thing. It's the bow tie, the ice cream suit, and the white bucks. It's pretty much the same suit as I had. But he took the character, and he added so much to it. He's the one that made it special. I think he got the outfit from me. That's all. And he might have got, he was nice. He even said he got a little bit of his character from me, but he made this special, great character. Now here's my quick Pee Wee Herman story about fans. I'm walking down Sunset Boulevard one day. These guys are in a halfway house. There's a halfway house on Sunset. These kind of derelict guys.
Yeah.
A couple of them say, hey, it's Pee Wee Herman. I go, no, I'm Eddie. I go, I'm the guy in Greece. I'm an actor. I go, no, you're Pee Wee Herman. So more of them come out. It's hey, you guys, it's Pee Wee Herman. They're all fucking, I'm Eddie Deezen. I'm not Pee Wee Herman. I said that, I'm Eddie Deezen. I'm saying, meanwhile, there's like 20 or 30. Now they've engulfed me. They're surrounding me. They go, Pee Wee Herman. And I realize, I'm in fucking danger here. These guys are going to tear me apart. They were getting angry. They go, come on, admit it. You're Pee Wee Herman. So what if I go, you know what? You got me. I'm Pee Wee Herman. I go, yeah, it's okay. So these schmucks think they met Pee Wee Herman. I shake all their hands. I'm Pee Wee Herman. Oh, it's nice to meet you. For the rest of their lives, these guys are going to tell everybody they met Pee Wee Herman, but they met me.
You know what, though? You made their day.
That's
yeah.
That's equally as badass just to meet Eddie Deezen.
Paul's
great.
I like that opinion. Thank you. But he was great, and I miss him. I was so sad when he passed away. He was the sweetest guy ever. Just a great guy. He brought something very special to showbiz. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I never heard from anybody that knew him. I never heard anything bad about Paul.
Yes, exactly right. He's one of those guys. He's kind of like, there's certain actors like that. You never hear anything bad. You don't hear one bad thing. And he's one of those guys. You're exactly right. Yeah. I think John Travolta's kind of that way, and Hanks is kind of that way. Now I'll tell you my Tom Hanks story real quick about just what we're talking about. What a sweet guy is. I was talking to Tom Hanks. Now every day we get made up on Polar Express. It was the four of us. Was me, Tom, Nona Gay, the hero girl. She was Marvin Gaye's daughter, and Peter Scolari, who was with Tom Hanks and was a buddy. The four of us come in every day. They dress us in scuba suits. They put a scuba hat on our head, and they get a marker, and they mark 152 dots on our face, and they put an electric thing on our face. It was called motion capture. It was the first motion capture. So they put these dots on our face. Now, every day, for whatever reason, Tom and I were always done our makeup first. So we would go out to the set first. And every day I realized, oh my God, I can fucking ask Tom Hanks anything I want. It's like meeting John Lennon and saying, you can ask me, because this guy's my favorite movie star. He really is my favorite movie star. And I go, I could ask him anything. So one day I asked him, I go, you did that movie Nothing in Common with Jackie Gleason. What was Gleason like? And he goes, Jackie Gleason, he was professional. He always knew his lines. He always hit his mark. He was always on time, and he was a total pro, and he was a very good actor. He's a talented guy and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I'm talking today to Peter Scolari. I go, yeah, I was asking Tom today about meeting Jackie Gleason. He said, he was a professional, what a great guy he was and all. And Peter goes, that's just like Tom. I go, what do you mean? He goes, Jackie Gleason was an asshole to him. He goes, Jackie Gleason was patronizing. He goes, Jackie Gleason, looked down on him. He was not respectful at all. He was a jerk. But he said, Tom will not say anything bad about anybody. He goes, that's just Tom Hanks. He never will say a bad word about anybody, even if they were a dick to him. And I realized that's the kind of person he is. And that's the kind of person John Travolta is. Same thing. I've never heard anything bad about him, and I've never heard him say anything bad about anybody.
Interesting.
Wow. So, I mean, what was that like doing the first motion capture for you?
Yeah, it was so cool. Well, Zemeckis is my favorite director. Bob Zemeckis. It was three things on my bucket list. I wanted to work with Bob Zemeckis again because I Want to Hold Your Hand, his first film with him, and then I did 1941 with him. Greatest director ever. For me, he was better than Spielberg, and I love Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, there's no, he's the greatest director. It's like riding a Rolls Royce, being chauffeured in a Rolls Royce, being director. But Zemeckis kind of knew me better. He kind of knew my sense of humor better, and he was more of a comedy director. Whereas Steven doesn't usually do out and out comedy. He'll have funny moments in his films, but I mean, he'll do like, Gertie sees E.T. and screams, or have these funny moments, but he doesn't do comedy per se. Whereas Bob can do a comedy. So I like Bob better, but I want to do that. I always want to work with Tom Hanks. He's my favorite star. And my other one is I'm Jewish, but I'm a Christmas nut. I love Christmas. Christmas is my favorite day of the year. And I always want to do a Christmas movie. So when I got Polar Express, it was the answer to a dream. It was the happiest thing. It was the most joyous experience of my life. So much fun, such a wonderful time. Now, this happened like 2 days ago. This was the anniversary. Do you guys remember Captain Kangaroo?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Captain Kangaroo. Okay, this was the first show I ever loved in my life. It was Captain Kangaroo. It's this kiddie show. Every day I would watch it before kindergarten. So anyway, Captain Kangaroo died. This was the anniversary of it. I think he died 2004, I think it was. So it was 21 years ago. I think it was on January 23rd. I should have wrote it in my page, but I didn't write. But it's the anniversary of Captain Kangaroo dying. So we were filming the Polar Express that way. So I came into makeup that morning. I was real gloomy, Captain Kangaroo died, blah, blah. Tom Hanks comes in the makeup room. He goes, Eddie, did you hear Captain Kangaroo die? I know. And we both talked about how much we loved Captain Kangaroo when we were kids. We watched it. The first show I was ever hooked on. We loved Captain Kangaroo. So I get out of the makeup room. I'm walking, to go back to my trailer. I hear this footsteps behind me and all. I see this big, huge figure because he's a big guy. Tom Hanks followed me out of the makeup room. Now, it was a sunny day, okay? Imagine, I'm looking at Tom Hanks up into the sun. I see him around, and the sun is back. But Tom Hanks is there in his rubber scuba suit with his scuba hat and his dots. He sings me the Tom Terrific song. Tom Terrific, I don't know if you remember, he was a character on Captain Kangaroo. He sang this stupid song. He goes, I'm Tom Terrific, and this is my dog, Mighty Dog. You can see it on YouTube. Go, Google the Tom Terrific song. But Tom Hanks sang me the song, word for word, verse for verse. He sang me the entire song. He goes, I'm Tom Terrific. Did anybody else see this? I'm like looking at the camera. Did anybody else see this? Will anybody fucking believe this happened? But Tom Hanks fucking sang me a serenade, and then he just walked off. And I know, this is what happened. He finished the serenade, and he didn't say anything. So I just said, what's in my heart? This is what I really said. I go, you know what? You're a great guy. You're a great guy. And he just walked off. That was my best Tom Hanks moment. And working with him was just a joy every day. He always had something interesting to say on the set. He'd always have like an interesting opinion. He was just an incredibly sweet guy. And we finished Polar Express, and he goes, Eddie, I hear you're a baseball fan. I go, yeah. He goes, you want to go to a Dodger game with us? Are you kidding? So he took me to 3 Dodger games. We sat in his box seat, and we sang Take Me Out of the Ball Game together. He was just the most wonderful guy, and I haven't seen him since then. The last Dodger game was the last time I saw him.
Oh, wow. But I mean, that's just great to hear that just the stories that you have. This is why I love doing these shows too, is learning all the behind the scenes stuff as well that you never hear about. Yeah. That's awesome. So Eddie, with all your portrayals of nerds, you've done some horror movies, and obviously you're playing the nerd character. That was horror movies different for you than the comedy movies that you're used to?
Kind of, yeah. You're right. I'm not a horror person, and we're gonna obviously plug the show. I'm gonna be at the Acronomicon. I'm gonna be there February 1st, next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. I will be there. The show is a 1-day show. We'll be there from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. I'll be signing all day. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but this is the market. I charge $50 a picture for a picture and a selfie. But please be honest. If you see me there and you go, look, I don't have $50. I understand that. We've just gone through Biden's economy. Everybody's broke. Nobody has money. So we going through, if you have less, you go, Eddie, all we have is $30. Of course, we'll do it for you. So $50 is not written in stone, but that's what we charge right now. I've been doing science shows for 40 years. I started out with $5. I used to go to shows and I charged $5. And then I would do shows with Jeff Conaway of Greece. He goes, come on, bump it up. So we bumped up to 20, then it's gone up to 25, 30, and now we're up to $50, which is so stupid because the truth is I'm not worth $50. There's no way, but we charge $50 now. And so these people pay it. These guys come to these shows with a wad of money, and they'll pay it. So, but if you have less and you hear this show and you honestly have less and you're honest with it, of course we'll charge you less. Don't even worry. Because if you want to get a picture, that's fine. It's my pleasure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, to answer your question, you're right. I don't do that many horror shows. No, I think all I know is, Matt, I've done Critters 2. I did Critters 2, and I did Laser Blast is kind of a sci-fi film, but there's like monsters in it. And I did one called Beverly Hills Vamp. It's a comedy Dracula movie. So those are like my horror films. But I've done horror shows, I don't really belong to it. It should be like I always go to the guys, I go, why don't you call it a horror nostalgia show? And so it's still a horror show, but they want to call it a horror show. So Stevie got me booked for it, and we're going to do it, and the guy booked this is a very nice guy. So we're going to do it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really what you did a couple of horror comedies with, Beverly Hills, Vampire and Teenage Exorcist as well, right? Teenage Exorcist, you're right. You know my career better than me, right? Teenage Exorcist, another one. Yeah.
We tend to hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do a horror show, so I
so you're a horror freak. You love horror movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm heavily tattooed in it.
Okay. This is what happened with me. Okay. Phil, this would happen with me. When I was a kid, Phil or Matt, I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Phil and Matt. Phil's with the hat. Matt's with the hat.
Yes, Matt's with the hat.
Okay, Matt's with the hat. I remember. And I apologize, Matt. It's my stupidness. Realize I'm 67. My mind isn't what it used to be. But when I was a kid, I was a horror freak. I grew up, loving Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff. I love Vincent Price. And I would watch, I watched The Mummy, and I love Frankenstein. I didn't like Dracula for some reason. I didn't like that movie. I saw it with Bela Lugosi, and it's one of these, classic, we've all had this experience. You watch one of these classics everybody loves, and I watched it and I was so disappointed. I didn't like that, but I love Frankenstein. And I remember watching the giant behemoth I saw, and I saw, the giant crabs. We had one called, literally there's a signing show called this, but when I was a kid in Maryland, we had a show that was on, it was like on Thursday, it was called Killer Theater. and they would show a monster movie, and I would watch that every Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's, I think horror has a good place because everyone had their local thing,
Yeah.
and, I grew up on Monster Vision on TNT with Joe Bob Briggs. And
Right.
showing
Yeah,
all this
Joe Bob
old
Briggs,
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you dipping your toe into that, horror genre versus the comedy for you?
I guess I didn't really think about it that much per se. I just took it as a role, and yeah, and the people were wonderful. I worked with Britt Eklund. She was wonderful. And, Fred Olen Ray, I love. He's like the greatest comedy director ever. I love working with him. And he's made his life out of horror films. So he kind of brought it into comedy for me. Fred's got a great sense of humor, but I'm going to give you an honest answer. I didn't think about it that much in those terms. It was just like another job, and I just did it. It's like, me doing a cowboy movie, a funny cowboy movie. I've never played a cowboy, but I put on a cowboy hat and I acted myself. I pretty much, I have the versatility of, you know what I mean? I have no versatility. I always play the same character every time. So I just play my character and I got into that role. That's all.
Yeah. It's just, I love it. So is it the nerd role? Is that something you kind of pursued? Is just kind of you were thrust into from?
I was thrust into, yeah, but because I look this way, yeah, I just, what are you going to do with me? Obviously, I'm not going to play a leading man. I'm not handsome. I'm not cool. I'm not suave. So I can't do that. I couldn't really do a horror movie because I'm not scary. I mean, any girl could beat me up. I'm not going to scare anybody. So I couldn't do that. So I drifted into comedy. Comedy was my love. That was what was in my heart. And I just kind of took the nerd character. Yeah, I would take my voice up a register. This is my real voice here. But when I'm doing it, hi, how are you? But I'll take it up a notch, I take it up because that's a comedy effect. And I'll act broader, hi, how are you? I put on the broad motions, And I'm kind of that way in real life. It's kind of like an exaggeration of what I am. But I've always been a weird guy, I always stood out in my weirdness. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and your voice is, world known, I think. Your voice,
thank you.
You were the voice of, was it Pop?
Yes, I was Pop for 5 years. Yes. Pour on the milk snap. We would go in, pour on the milk snap. I would be for like 20 minutes. They cut me the check and I didn't work for a year. That's what that gig was. It was the easiest gig ever. Unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean,
that's like Billy West with the red M&M.
Yes, exactly. It's Billy West. Billy West is another one we talk about. It's the highest level, the cream at the top. Billy West, you don't get any bigger. And he is the nicest guy in the world. Totally sweet, great guy.
That's awesome. So with that though, I mean, do you prefer voiceover work versus acting at live?
I like acting because I like being in movies. That was what my goal is, and I love being in a film. Okay, that's what my joy. But I like voiceovers because you get to use cue cards and get to read. I have a hard time memorizing lines. My biggest button is always memorizing lines. It started when I did War Games. When I did War Games, I'm doing my scene, and I kept screwing up, and I still remember the term to this day, 40 years later, data encryption algorithm. So I'm doing the scene with Matthew Broderick and Maury Chaykin. We're doing that, and I go, yeah, and it's a new data encryption algorithm. Cut. We do the scene again. It's a new data endocrine algorithm. Cut. I do it like wrong 10 times. Now, my director was Marty Brest, who later did Beverly Hills Cop. John Badham did War Games, but wasn't my director. Marty Brest did the first 12 days. I was in there, and he was fired. They didn't like his dailies. So John Badham came in. Now, the only scene John Badham liked was my scene. He left out. So my scene is the only scene in War Games not directed by John Badham. But anyway, that's a side story. But anyway, I kept screwing up and I messed it up. So Marty Brass crooks his finger. He calls, come here, Eddie. Let's take a walk. He literally, let's take a walk like the Godfather, We're going to take a little walk on the pier, They're in the water and cement over. But he goes, let's take a little walk. I could see he wasn't that happy. He gets me outside. He puts his arm around my shoulder. He goes, look, you're costing the studio money. He was serious. He goes, you're costing the studio money. We're going to get you these things called idiot cards. He literally said it that way. He goes, idiot cards. And he said, we're going to write your words down and we'll hold up the cards and you can read it. Okay. So they get it. One take. I did, I read it off. The new data encryption algorithm that we did it one take, it was over. I go, this is fucking great. These cards are great. When we did Polar Express, I told Bob, and I did the whole movie Polar Express with cue cards. I was the only one. Everybody else, we would act out every scene. Me, Tom, Nona, Peter, we'd act out. But my cards were held up by a cue card gun. I just read it. Now, Tom didn't say anything the whole shoot. The last day of the shoot, after 11 weeks, I'm saying goodbye. He goes, what the fuck do you need cue cards for? Why do you need fucking cue cards? And I asked my friend, he goes, he waited till the last day. He didn't want to invalidate, he didn't want to make you feel it. But that's probably how he thought. Because he is such a great actor. It's so easy to him. He's done Shakespeare. And to Tom, it's like water off a duck's back. It's nothing. But to me, it was hard to remember all those lines. But it's like he couldn't comprehend an actor needing cue cards. And he revealed that the last day. That's what he said to me. I go, I just can't remember lines.
They should really call them Marlon Brando cards because he was
Yeah,
notoriously known.
exactly. Brando, you too. Right? He was probably, or Brando had, which I've never seen. He had earpieces. They would put an earpiece in, and they would give him his line. You know, he goes, "Oh, my Godfather, you know, and he's listening in the earpiece."
I
Yeah,
think that was later on. I know notoriously that there were a lot of scenes where he would write it on his shirt his shirt sleeve.
yes, exactly right. He'd have it around the set. He'd have notes around the set. I never got to that level, but yeah, he had all kinds of tricks.
Well, see, like I said they just call them Brando cards, and then you're good.
Brando card. You're right. That would be a perfect name. They should call him Brando cards.
That way, everyone feels good. Like, oh, I'm using the method Marlon Brando used.
Yeah. Now Hope would do it. Bob Hope didn't do it in his movies, I don't think, but you know, all the TV shows we grew up with Bob Hope. Bob Hope was the biggest thing in the world when I grew up, and he would have a special like every month. And he, you know, his whole thing was he would just read off cue cards. There was a guy, Bob Hope's cue card holder. He was a famous guy, and he was Bob Hope's cue card holder for like 50 years. And you know, Hope, you know, I want to tell you, I just flew in from Philadelphia, and he's reading it all off cue card, but he was so smooth, you didn't see that on TV. It looked like he was just, you know, remembering his routine.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, though. I mean, like I said, this is why we do these shows. Is like I said, learning behind the scenes because you know, in my head, you know, when Polar Express came out, I'm like, I don't know how people did that, how it was even set up. Now we know, you know, 20
a lot of people, Matt, a lot of people think we didn't even act. They think it was just a voiceover job. They go, did you ever meet Tom Hanks? They go, did you meet? And, yes, I met him. We worked together for 11 weeks, but they think it was like a voiceover gig where we just went in a booth, recorded our lines, and then I left, and Tom went into another booth and read his. But no, we acted out the whole movie. Now, this was the entire procedure. It was very unusual. There's never been another movie like this. We would act it out. Okay, there were the four of us, you know, it was like four main characters, me, Tom, Nolan, and Peter. Okay, we would do the scene. You know, I want to go to the North Pole. I want all the Christmas presents. We do the scene, cut. Okay, now they had four little kids. They had a little kid, Tom, a little kid, me, a little kid, Nolan, a little kid, Peter, four little kids, and they would act out the same scene after us. And they go, I want to go to the North Pole, and they'd act out. Then somehow they morphed us together. I swear to God, that's how they did it. Now it's probably, you know, this was 20 odd years ago, so I'm sure it's more refined now. But that was the first motion capture. We did this every scene. The little kids did every scene along with us right after, and they morphed our bodies together. That's why it looks like we're in little kids' bodies.
Right.
It's like our movements, you know, we were doing the movements and the kids followed our movements and it was put us together. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, obviously, the kids had to be studying you then to figure out what your motions were.
Right, exactly. They were sharp kids and they followed us. Hey, Stevie, come on in. These are great guys.
Are they wrapping up soon? Or?
Oh, well, what time is it? This is Stevie, my manager. Okay.
Yep.
Stevie, he says about 5 more minutes, okay?
Yeah, we can start the wrap-up questions.
Sure. Okay. Okay, Stevie, 5 more minutes.
All right, yeah, we'll start doing the wrap-ups here just because we are getting carried away with the interview, and there's so much we want to talk.
Let me tell you, it's such a pleasure talking to you guys. You guys are both superb. I'm not just saying this to buddy up. You're excellent interviewers. You're a pleasure to talk to, and that's hallmark. You make the person feel so comfortable, and you're such a pleasure to talk to. So I really enjoyed this. I thought the hour went by so quick. It really did it. I can't believe it. It's 9:56. I can't believe it. I go, oh no. Because Stevie first told me, he goes, oh, you're going to do like 5 or 10 minutes. I go, okay. Then you guys get on. You go, we're going to do an hour. I go, oh God, you know. But it's been fun. You're very enjoyable to talk to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no,
sure, and you have a great show. I would love to hear some of your show. Are your shows all available over the internet or what?
Everything's on YouTube. This goes live.
I love you. Isn't YouTube the best? I love it.
Yeah.
So your Rob Paulson interview is on there. I'd like to hear that.
Yes, actually, the Rob Paulson interview is on there. That's on a separate series that we have called Comic Conversations.
Comic Conversations. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But the episode with Rob Paulson is available already.
Mm-hmm.
The Julie Andrews story is one of the coolest stories I've ever heard in my life. I always remember that. It's a beautiful story.
Awesome.
Yeah, and he talks about it on the thing here real quick before we get into the wrap-up questions, just because I love that he did this. So you know, he has a lot of famous characters that everybody knows.
Right.
Do this one. I'll do his nerdy character.
Hi,
okay.
Just hang on. Carl Weezer here. I don't know if this is working, but please do yourself a favor and listen to the Distance Nerding podcast, and then go have yourself a croissant. But don't talk to Jimmy's mom.
Very good. You're excellent. You're an excellent artist. See, I'm a voiceover guy. You're very talented. You can do different voices. I basically do the one voice. I've never done another voice. I'm very rare in voiceover because voiceover people are usually talented like you. They can do a bunch of different voices, but that's very good. I would never have known that was you.
No,
that was very good.
That was Rob.
That was Rob. I recorded that.
Oh,
That was,
I thought it was you. I'm sorry. So,
No.
okay. Well, that was good. No wonder it was so good. It was Rob.
I can do characters. I can do characters, but I mean that's Rob right there. No,
You
Rob,
are a voiceover artist, though.
I do some light voiceover stuff on there. I do a lot of stuff that people do not expect to come out of me at all. Because when you hear my voice, you're not expecting. Oh boy, what's going on, guys? You know, like you're not
Okay,
expecting.
see, that's good. That was a good voice right there. I've never heard that one. That was good.
That's a Mickey Mouse, but I mean, like it's
Okay. I didn't even know it.
yeah.
Okay.
You know, but you're not really expecting that kind of thing to come out of someone that
Right.
looks and sounds like me. You know, but I mean,
Okay.
let's get into these wrap up questions. Otherwise,
Sure.
we're all going to get in trouble here.
course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eddie, I'm going to ask you the hardest question you've ever been asked in your life. Are you ready for this?
Okay. Yes.
What is your favorite kind of taco?
My favorite kind of taco. That's a great. Okay. I go to Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell. I would get a taco with. I love sour cream on mine. I'll get a taco with sour cream and I like the hottest sauce. I like the fire, what's called fireball or whatever. The hottest sauce I like, and I like sour cream.
It's not spicy enough, man. They need to make those sauces spicier.
That's a very good point. You're right. You got to get a bottle with Tabasco and bring it with you. I've done that. If I go to a taco place and it's not hot enough, I'll put Tabasco on it because I like super hot tacos, and I like it on my burrito too. Burrito I like with sour cream too.
Same. I do actually like sour cream on my burrito. What's some advice you might have for anybody trying to get into the industry?
Okay, this is my rule, and I heard this from James Garner, the guy on Rock Frost, and it's the rule I give to everybody. I go, this is what I always say. I go, the 5-year rule. I go, if it's really in your heart, yes, go for it. Now, you realize, of course, I'm going to be blunt with you. It's the toughest business in the world. You know that. There's like, I think 2,500 jobs in all of Hollywood. All the movies and TV, there's like 2,500 roles. There's millions and millions of actors and actresses. So you're bucking the odds, no matter how talented you are. It's hard odds. But if it's in your heart, go after it. I believe if you really want it bad enough, you're going to make some kind of an impact. Now, you give it 5 years. You give it your best, save up a lot of money, make sure you have a bankroll. Don't come out with no money because you're dead. You got to have a bankroll, a nest egg, because you're not going to work right away. So you got to have a nest egg to pay the rent or, get a girlfriend who you can live with, but make sure you have a way to pay the rent and you have money. Give it 5 years. Give it your best for 5 years. Spend money on pictures. Find yourself a good agent. The best way to find an agent, by the way, is get a friend, make a friend who has the agent. It's hard to just call an agent, will you see me? Because they're not going to see you. You get a friend and have them say, I have this guy, named Phil. Can you come and meet him and try to meet an agent that way? You have to get a good agent, but give it 5 years, give it all you've got. Now, if you don't do anything in 5 years, you're probably not good enough. It's just sad, but you're going to have to get a different dream. It's like, all the guys that want to play baseball. Okay. Everybody wants to be the next Babe Ruth, right? But millions of guys go and they strike out. They're not good enough. So you got to just move your dream. You channel your dream to something else, but give it 5 years. And I figure in 5 years, if you are good, you're going to get some kind of role. Somebody's going to see you and go, this guy's good, or this girl is really good. So I give it the 5 year. If you haven't done it in 5 years, don't ruin your life. Don't waste your life. Go on to another dream.
All right.
Yeah.
Always
good
good
advice.
advice. Yeah. It is. So who do you think would win in a fight? I think I know who would win this one, but who do you think would win in a fight? Mandark or Eugene?
Oh my! Oh God. Well, Dee could beat both of them, but let's see. Mandark or Eugene? I would say maybe Mandark because he's kind of the aggressive one. He's got a little bit of. I don't know. I would say it would be a funny fight, but I'm going to go with Mandark just because he's kind of weird. Eugene didn't have a mean bone in his body. Mandark had that meanness. He might have, done a sucker punch or something, or snuck in brass knuckles or something.
Right. And I'm just thinking like, okay, well, two nerdy characters. Mandark is kind of mean though. If you look at the way that he treats Dexter's mean.
Yeah. Mandark was a villain. Mandark is, I played, that's another one. I don't play villains out. I played a villain in Surf too. And Mandark was a villain, but usually I play an affable guy. I usually play a pretty nice guy. I play an annoying guy, but he's usually not a villain,
Right.
So I did a movie called Laser Blast, which was terrible. Mystery Science Theater did a version of it, which is better than the movie. But I play a rapist, me and this guy raped this girl. So you can't get any meaner than that. We raped this girl. We jump on a girl,
Yeah. So here's where we're gonna have you push out everything you got going on right now. What's next for you? I know you've got the show in Ohio. Give us all your pluggables, everything that you want to put out there. Anything. I know you have a Cameo. So if you want to plug your Cameo, anything that you have going on, please.
Well,
plug
I don't have a lot. I don't work that much anymore, which it's just a fact. I'm being honest. But I do have cameos. If you ever want a cameo video, they're very cheap. I wish people happy birthday, happy bar mitzvah, happy anniversary. But I get, I just like, this is for my dad. Please say hi. He loves Grease or da-da-da. I record, a couple every week. They're very cheap. You can get them cheap as like $16. And I do it. And if you don't like it, just say, do a remake. And I will always do it. I always want the customer to be happy. I never want to do one where, like I did one and they go, you didn't follow my instructions. That is fine. I'll do, just tell me that, send me a note and I will do the back until you get one you're happy with. So I always do that. I'm doing, the only other thing I have planned is I did a movie called I Want to Hold Your Hand where I play myself a Beatles fan. And we're doing that at the Beatle Fest in New York. I'll be in New York, March 28th, 29th, 30th, I think are the days. I'll be in New York at the Beatle Fest and I'm going to host the screening of I Want to Hold Your Hand and I'll do a Q&A with the audience. So that's about all I have going right now. I'm looking forward to that though, because I Want to Hold Your Hand is probably the best role I ever had. It was the closest I ever had to play in myself because I play a Beatles nut. And I love the Beatles. So that it's my favorite movie as far as my best role. And Zemeckis is a genius. So yeah, I like the movie.
Yeah, and also the internet, and this I saw this in multiple places on the internet.
Sure.
They officially you are considered one of the largest Beatles trivia like stars.
Absolutely.
And
I know Beatles trivia. I know the best Beatles trivia that could stump the Beatles. I guarantee I could stump them. But I know Beatles trivia nobody knows. I've read like 1,000 books on them. I know everything about the Beatles. And that's my character in the movie. This braggart guy. I know everything to know about the Beatles. And I got that from, I don't know if are you guys Marx Brothers fans?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, I got that. I don't know if you saw Animal Crackers, but there's Animal Crackers. Chico and Groucho do a scene together. And Chico goes, ask me this. And he goes, and the answer come back. He goes, ask me this. And I stole that gag. That's the gag I use in One Quarter Again. It comes from Chico Marx. He does that in Animal Crackers. He's talking to Groucho. They're doing, one of the wonderful Groucho Chico scenes. And he goes, go ahead, ask me anything. He goes, ask me what the girl's phone number is. And the answer come back, 846-7283, whatever. And I did that gag from that. Yeah.
Awesome. So where can everybody find you on social media?
I just do Facebook. I'm only Facebook. I know I've been asked to do the other stuff, but I never got into TikTok or the other stuff. I do my gags on Facebook every day. I'm limited to 5,000 friends. That's all I can have. I wish I could have more. But please, if you're on Facebook, look at my page. I write my jokes every day. I put like 20 posts every day. I'm a compulsive joke writer. I have notebooks full of jokes. I write jokes and I post my pictures and I post Beatles trivia and I put whose birthday it is. I put a tribute to them. Tomorrow is Dinah Manoff, who was in Grease. She played Marty, so I'm doing a tribute to her. And I just did, today was John Belushi, my old pal. I put a tribute to him and I put whose birthday it was and happy birthday and all that stuff. And I try to put an inspirational quote in every day.
That is awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking with us. It's been a massive pleasure. Again, every story you told tonight has been amazing, and we appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Phil.
Yes, thank
and
you.
Continued success with your show. Thank you so much for having me on.
And
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a great year. Take care.
All right. See you next week.
Okay. So yeah, I'll see you next week at the show.
Yes.
Okay. Take care, you guys. Okay,
All right.
I'm gonna get Stevie.
Okay.
Hi
Big
there.
beard.
All right.
Big beard.
Big beard. No, that was good, man. God, the conversation was great. There's so much I wanted to talk about, but it's like there's only so much you can do in an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, because I did want to start getting into like Dexter's Lab and start talking about some of the other projects that he was in and things like that. I wanted to talk about just kind of like the choice to move to LA over New York and Chicago when you're going into comedy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You have those choices.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously he looks up to a lot of people from the Chicago scene. So it's like, why not Chicago?
Why not Chicago?
Well, but especially being from Maryland.
Yeah.
That's a question we can ask on another night.
Exactly.
Means we have to have Eddie back.
or you ready? Since I'll see him next week, maybe I'll do a comic conversation.
Oh, do that. Yes, please do it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us this week. We have had a pleasure. Again, a very special thanks to Eddie Deezen for coming on the show. Of course, next week we will be back on Tuesday for the download. As far as the build goes, we are guestless next week, but we can figure some stuff out.
Yes, I may be gone Friday as I'll be probably driving to Ohio.
No worries, man.
But don't we have a show on Sunday?
We do have a show this Sunday. You just reminded me again. So Ian Foltz, we will be on the show this Sunday. We had to reschedule due to some
internet issues.
Some internet issues.
But he's Canadian. I figure everything freezes up there anyway, so the internet froze.
That's a good joke right there. If you guys are unaware of this, of course, a new episode of Pot Out at Night is out. I've already listened to it. It was great. I love no spoilers on the episode, but I love how, like, literally at the very end, you guys go and review Shocker, and it's like it was so much higher of a review than I was expecting you guys to give it.
Yes, that was quite surprising on Salem's end. Considering it's schlocky as hell, and we know he hates schlock.
Yeah, I was not expecting him to be like, hey, so I'm going to give this an 8.5. Like, wait, what? He gave it a what?
If you're listening, you notice there's a pause in me. I'm writing it down. I'm just going, what?
I was so surprised at that. But it was so good. Guys, check it out. No episode of Pot Out at Night. Or they mostly pot at night, mostly. But I'm going to let Graveyard give all of his pluggables. So let's do this.
Yes, I am Graveyard, co-host of the Mostly Pod Out at Night, mostly.
Mostly
Pod.
at night. Mostly.
Yes, new episodes every Thursday. So make sure when you're done watching the build on Thursday to go listen to the podcast right after that and stay up till 2 a.m. Listen to us bitch about bad movies.
So good. Did you guys mention what you guys are going to be reviewing next week?
Yeah. Kevin Bacon.
That's right. You guys are doing another Kevin Bacon episode.
Yes. So yeah, make sure to check that out. And every Wednesday we have Conversations in the Void with our new logo done by the fantastic Eric Ruiz. Cthulhu holding the microphone, coming from the void. He's coming to get you with tentacles.
Such a good picture, man. It's really good.
Yeah. That was our idea, and he nailed it perfectly. So I'm excited for that. And when this is done in 15 minutes, go over to Twitch and watch us game out at night, where I'm continuing Man of Medan. So make sure to check that out. Graveyard Pod Out at Night on Twitch.
That will be a good time as usual. Sorry, I'm just.
Yes, so we're making Bacon. Yes, we actor spotlight Kevin Bacon, and then we realized that we never did an actor spotlight for the one and only Bruce Campbell.
You haven't done actor spotlight for anybody outside of Kevin Bacon.
We haven't.
You guys have only done Kevin Bacon actor spotlights.
Mm-hmm.
You probably should do more actor spotlights, considering the amount of like franchise actors there are.
Yeah, we're kind of doing that. We do these director spotlights and actor spotlights and writer spotlights when it's not its own category. Like if it's in a part of a franchise, if it has correlations to anything else, we'll lump it in with those type of episodes. But like, when are we going to talk about, they/them? When are we going to talk about Hollow Man? When are we going to talk about all these other things? We're just like, yeah, we got to do actor spotlights.
I'm interested in hearing your guys' take on Hollow Man.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I actually did enjoy that movie, man. So it's gonna be interesting to see where Salem goes with that, whether he likes it or not.
I'm pretty sure he likes it, but I won't know. We generally don't discuss our ideas and topics before it.
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be that's I'm giving my speculation. That's why I'm like it's gonna be interesting to see where Salem goes with Hollow Man, because I thought that was actually a decent movie.
Mm-hmm. We Sacramento Deadpool makes a good point. We actually are doing a director spotlight of David Lynch.
Ooh, that's gonna be awesome.
We will be doing that just because it's David Lynch, and we don't have a good place to put his stuff in other categories. So we have it scheduled for, I think August, if not earlier.
Okay, a lot of his movies were standalone as it is. So I mean, yeah.
So it's perfect. Like I said, I love doing that stuff just because it's not just the same garbage over and over again.
Yeah. You know, it's like let's go review Ghost of Mars.
Love it. Love Ghost of Mars. But I like bad movies. So.
Yeah, and now in my head, all I can hear is weird gibberish that they fucking scream
with their Predator vision. Absolutely
right. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, you know who I am. I am your boy, Young Phil, Distance Nerding. Of course, if you want to connect with us, you can connect with us on all social media places. If it exists, we are there. That is all the places. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's never going to be X. Twitch, TikTok, Threads, YouTube, Discord, Blue Sky, MySpace, Vine, GeoCities, Friendster, Second Life, AIM, Farmers Only, Christian Mingle, OnlyFans, OnlyFeet. All places. Of course, the OnlyFans are only pictures of Aaron Watson's feet and mandals, the beard, Jamez's glasses, sitting on a table, judging you because you haven't bought our shirt yet, and of course, everything she does for 2 pennies.
Don't forget LinkedIn. Don't forget LinkedIn, says Sacramento Deadpool.
Oh yeah, that's right. We should probably add LinkedIn to that.
We should probably go away from one of these platforms. I'm not going to name anyone that's full of incels, but
the only reason I keep that there is because of the joke. That's it.
I know.
because it's a decent joke. I should probably cancel that account at any point because Nazis. Anyways, let's what's funny is TikTok being what it is right now. My algorithm has been sending me nothing. Sorry, I got to take this off the screen. My algorithm has been sending me nothing but memes of Elon Musk doing his salute, right? And then it immediately cutting to GI Robot.
Yep,
going Nazis.
Exactly. See, we should get LinkedIn so you can hire us.
Oh, they're asking what time on Sunday. Guys, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
Yes.
Oh, and it says we need to add Red Note. I don't know what Red Note is.
It's the replacement that everyone's using for TikTok.
Well, TikTok's back. So, I mean.
Yay.
And it's funny because, like I said, like all I hear is everybody complaining about how like right wing it got since it came back. But like everything I've been getting is mostly people making fun of Nazis and shit like that.
It's just AI.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because the algorithm is based on the things you like, and I'm sure, like, you know, it sees all this shit that I do like. I haven't been getting anything like super crazy. So
I'm an old man. My not going to is paying off finally. So.
Exactly. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like us to break up with your boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, pet, schoolyard bully, annoying neighbor, just tell us how much you enjoy us, hate us, or wish the internet would consume us completely and spit us out at the feet of GI Robot. But he's not going to attack us. He's going to kill all the Nazis standing in front of us. And to that I say,
and there's much rejoicing.
There's much rejoicing. I still believe in punching Nazis in the face. So
good.
Yeah. That will forever be a philosophy of mine is yeah, Nazis, say what you want. Still gonna get punched in the face.
Because they did not see that coming.
Send us an email at distancenerdy@aol.com. And we will read it live on air, guys. So until then, we will see everybody on Sunday. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, and keep nerding together. We'll see everybody Sunday. Let's get this going.
What's that character's name?
Petunia Pig.
Distance.
As what I'm saying, she has like a Peter Porker, right? What's her?
Petunia Pig, mild-mannered reporter from Acme University.
Oh, they should have called her Wonder Bacon.
Wonder Bacon. Yeah, you can take off the Wonder Woman costume. It's pretty cool. Old 90s toys.
Yes. She has her lasso of bacon grease. G.I. Robot, Indiana Jones need to do a crossover.
And just kill all the Nazis. I love it. I'm with it.
And fascists.
All the fascists. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see everybody on Sunday.